Hey witchlings, just wanted to give you a trigger warning for this episode. We are dealing with some heavy content on a movie review that we're doing. If you are concerned about this or have any questions, feel free to check out that trigger warning for Blink Twice. You can find that online. Thanks.
Hey witchlings, welcome back to Hex and Chill. This is your hosts, Kay, Shay, and Lou. We're so happy to have you back. We're going to actually be flipping the script a little bit today because we're going to be reviewing a movie. Now, please be warned, there are spoilers ahead.
Lots of spoilers.
Lots of spoilers. Yes. So if you've never seen the movie Blink Twice, you're going to want to pause here. Want to go watch it right now because it's pretty iconic. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to want to come back because we've got lots of thoughts and opinions on what we're about to kind of go over. And we want you to be part of that. So you can definitely find us on TikTok at Hex and Chill and also on YouTube at Hex and Chill. If you want to leave some comments there, let us know what you think about the movie, please do so. So let's go ahead and get into it.
So anyways, like Shay said, we all sat down and we were like, we're going to watch a movie and we're going to do a review about it because why not? That sounds so much fun.
It was funny. I had just seen the trailer for it and was thinking, oh my gosh, I really want to watch this because I love Channing Tatum, and didn't think it was going to be about everything that it was.
No,
and I thought
surprising.
It was super cool that was the first pick for our first movie review.
Well, and I think also the trailer is a fun one because it gives away like, hey, everyone's dead. And that's like really big because you're like going into this movie, if you watch the trailer, being like, okay, well, how does everyone die? I always think that there should be an Academy Award for trailers because some trailers are so good. Like, I like the trailer more than I like the movie. So like they should get like recognized for that. Anyways, that's a side note.
One day we can, or each year we can do like our nominations for best trailer.
Movie, best book, best trailer. This is Hex and Chill's Oscars.
Because everyone really cares about our opinions.
Obviously.
They do.
Great.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. Great. All right. Anyway, so there will be spoilers. We're going to say what happens in this movie because it's one of those Sixth Sense, what's the island? What's the one with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Shutter Island. It's a psychological thriller.
Yes, that you like there. There's going to be a twist. You're trying to figure out before the twist is revealed.
I will also say too, I think this movie is one that also kind of jumps genres a little bit because there's still humor. There's still kind of this like light funness about it. But I mean, I started watching this with my husband and he was like, I thought this was a horror movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, it is. Give it time. And hearing like Zoë Kravitz, this was her first directorial debut, and she wrote the script. Her to jump genres like that is really, really hard and challenging. And so, personally, I think she did a really good job. I mean, this film, chef's kiss.
And it might also, like, I was listening to one person talk about this, they were saying that she wrote this script 4 years ago. So, like, before the Harry Styles movie, which has the vibe of being like a woman, like there's a few movies that's come out these past few years that have the same vibe, but she wrote this like before those movies. Because you might be like, oh, it's just one of those movies, right? But it definitely it has a lot of originality, and obviously because she wasn't like copying anyone else's take on it. Yeah, which is great.
So original.
Yeah, it was also just really fun to watch the colors and
the
cinematography and I don't know. It was just a fun watch, and you laugh and you cringe and you cry and you look away because, oh my God,
you have nightmares that night. I had nightmares after watching it.
Yeah.
Okay. We should also talk about the basic concept of this movie before we dive in.
Yes.
So it is about a girl named Frida, and she's invited to Slater King's Island just on a whim with her friend. And there are 4 girls and 6 guys. Is that right?
4.
Well,
five
actually,
guys?
there's 5 girls, right? Because so Frida takes along her friend Jess.
Yes.
And then while already there is Sarah,
Heather,
and
Camilla. everyone kind of has a respective partner, basically, in who's like boy and girl, or the guy has brought one of these girls. So you think at the beginning they're couples, they're dating, they're friends, something like that.
Yeah,
like,
they all very much seem like they know each other. So
they're like, seems like when he introduces everyone in the beginning, when he's like, this is the crew, you're like, the crew, you know, like that's what it feels like.
Yeah. So they get to this island, and it's very like giving guru vibes. Yeah. And relaxation, drinks, drugs, everything, private chef, all of the great things. And so it's paradise. You get to do whatever you want. And they provide clothes, which it's not weird. They're giving you free clothes. It's also not weird that
rich.
you're,
they're
just rich.
You're like,
and they somehow know your size already. And it's fine.
They're rich.
Right. Because they're
It's fine. Whatever.
Yes.
So that's basically like not the entire movie, but
that's all.
that's it. Goodbye. No.
And then the story unfolds from there. Yes.
Honestly, that's just like the beginning. Like it's just like the beginning of the, iceberg.
Speaking of the beginning though, I just want to take a moment for that opening shot. So the opening shot, I mean, you get this symbolism of an iguana or lizard. Not sure if it's an iguana actually.
It's not.
Okay. Lizard. You're right. It wasn't.
It's a lizard. I don't know what kind of
dragon.
lizard, but if my dad listens to this, he will murder me for saying. Not really. My dad would never murder me.
A green, medium-sized
reptile.
lizard.
It was a reptile.
Yes. Not sure of the species, but anyway.
If you know, comment below.
I digress. Yes. But then you kind of like zoom out and kind of go into this moment of like someone scrolling on their phone, and it turns out it's Frida, and she's literally scrolling on her phone on the toilet, and I was like, nothing has felt more. Like, I've not felt
with the
more
incense
seen.
burning for a smell,
right?
Like so great.
Sitting on the toilet scrolling on like Instagram or TikTok. Yes, that's
so relatable.
Yep.
Yeah, when TikTok got banned for like a day, I liked how a lot of them was like, what am I gonna do in the bathroom? I laughed so hard because that's what people do. They scroll.
I know. It's so true.
In the bathroom.
You guys should start reading. Anyways, okay, back to the plot.
On the toilet?
Yeah.
Okay, anyway.
I digress. So, okay, they're on this beautiful island. She's there. They're having a great time. It's awesome. And as you're watching it, you feel uncomfortable, but you don't know why. I mean, you kind of know because you're watching this psychological thriller.
Right.
But also, I think it's interesting, too, because you see all of this stuff happen, and then you start to see these cuts. You start to see, like, okay, they're at dinner or they're at brunch, and then all of a sudden they're like, it's just the 5 girls, like, running in the grass at night. And you're like, oh, what happened to the rest of the day? And you're like, okay, well.
Yeah, you're kind of thinking, it's drugs.
Yeah. Or
it's like what you think. Yeah.
Right. Or it's the director choice, like, or it's the cinematography. Like, okay.
Then the first one we see, which I want to call notice to, is when they like smile and it says cheese, and then it shows the title blink twice. That's the first time that it kind of like jolts away from the storyline. Like, and like it's like a nice like blink twice with the yellow camera.
That was good.
Yeah. So like that's the first one you're like, I'm gonna like this. Like that was my first moment when I was like, ooh, yes, right. Anyways, and then basically what happens is during one of the parties, Jess, her friend, gets bit by a yellow snake, and from there it's this untwisting this weird secret world that these men have created, and each woman is starting to wake up. So Frida's the first one, because Jess disappears, and she's like, and the only reason she remembers her friend disappears is because this yellow lighter that's throughout the whole film that is being passed around to light blunts and all these different things, and it has her name Jess written on it. And all of a sudden someone's lighting something, and Frida turns her head and it's like, where's Jess? Like it's this moment that's not supposed to happen, right? And everyone's like, who's Jess? And they've been hanging out for like, it feels like forever now. Like everyone's like best pals. And so that's the first moment of unraveling, I would say.
Yeah. And then it just is a rapid rolling down the hill decline after that, because stuff just gets so real. So she's finding out she is able to convince one of the girls, and they're able to remember, and they find the antidote, which is super cool. And just the island, how they set it up is awesome. And then we come to the end where
shit happens.
It happens, and I don't want to like give it all away right now, but that's the general plot. And We did our homework, guys. We took notes and we're excited. My first note that I took was glasses guy equals asshole.
Yes, that guy was an asshole.
That's
I wrote
Vic, right?
iguana nails. So now, anyways. So yeah, I think we'll start off with just talking about things like, for me, just visually, that I really liked about this movie is that, like, as a director, she used like a lot of colors and triggering things with sound and stuff like that. So like right away when I realized, like, wow, there's a lot of use of yellow, there's a lot of use of red, there's a lot of use of blue and white. Like, colors were important and they were like intentional. And I loved it. So I immediately started like writing down every time I saw an item in that color, because I was thinking the Sixth Sense, like how red is so important in that movie. And I won't ruin that movie because we're not doing that today. And she loves movies. So when I saw her doing these things, I was like, oh, this almost feels like a nod to like classic films. There's a part where they talk about the red rabbit and someone kind of just keeps on going, red rabbit, red rabbit, red rabbit. And I was like, that sounds like The Shining, right? Red rum, right? And I was like, it's just, she was smart in her.
Yep.
Yeah.
But colors were like a big part. And we want to like dive into that if you guys want to start with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you guys notice about the colors?
Just the opening sequence of this movie, like, you see Frida, she's sitting on the toilet, she's scrolling on her phone. You already see kind of like her nails in this shot. It's actually a really big part of her character,
And she has the yellow lighter as well.
Right. Yeah. And her friend Jess comes in and is like asking her for the rent. She's like, I need my rent money. Like, come on.
Where's my lighter?
What's going on? Where's my lighter? Essentially, they go to work and she says like, oh, I don't have the money, but I have a big surprise for you. And this surprise is actually a dress. And she literally pulls them out. One is red, one is blue. They look almost identical. And she literally just says red or blue. Right there, instant Matrix recall.
Yes.
Like, red or blue pill.
Yeah, another
What's
call
going
to a
on?
movie too. Another real nod to like a classic.
Yep.
And Frida puts on the red one and Jess puts on the blue, which I think is so important. And let me tell you why. Red in the movie is represented by the island, and by what we find out is what's drugging the girls. So that's like a big thing that's about to happen. And red is their perfume. It's in the berries they eat, in the champagne.
The flowers.
The flowers that everyone smells and holds. It's on around everything. So they're all in white. And then red. Yeah, she gets a blood stain on her at the very first night they take drugs. It magically disappears. And so that was my first one for red. And then so for blue, I noticed that blue was represented a lot when the girls were remembering what happened to them. And Jess is the first person that remembers.
Yeah.
She's the first one that, because like with the chessboard is blue and white. The floor into Slater's place is like, I'm pretty sure blue and white. So like there's moments that the blue is representing remembering. And there's one scene that all have blue hats on too.
Yes.
Which I think is like kind of cool because it's about the brain and, like.
And also the blue masks.
The blue mask
day that they start to really like deconstruct and start to remember everything.
She turns and she says, "Where's Jess?"
Yep.
Yeah. So that was something that I noticed with color too, was when she is remembering that day, because they're wearing white all the time. They have white bikinis and white dresses. They wear white bikinis and a little like white thing on their.
It's almost like a
bikini cover up.
Sarong.
There we go.
That's right.
I wouldn't even know to say that word. And then they wear white gowns at dinner, and it's the same thing that they wear over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So, and there's no variation, and except for when they're all together, like the blue hats or they're doing the face mask. But when Frida starts to remember, she's wearing a light purple cover up, like long sleeve shirt, and then so I don't know. I just thought that was so cool.
Sarah's wearing green. Sarah's not in white, and she's the second character.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, the first is Jess, but Frida and then Sarah are the two that kind of start to unravel it together, and they're both in different colors. They're in green and purple, which I think is cool.
I love that mostly because I think of color theory. Frida starts to remember, and she's wearing purple. That's immediately the mix of red, and then the blue, the remembering color, and then also with Jess when she's found, she's wearing yellow.
Yellow is really important too.
Yellow's important because the snakes
It's
that
yellow.
end up being part of the antidote. So it's actually their venom that actually cures them. She is found wearing that same yellow color from the snake. And the fact that Sarah's wearing green.
Well, the venom is green.
Well, yes.
That's a nod.
The venom is green.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I also think too, like once you have that yellow and blue mixed together, that remembering and that antidote, it makes green.
Well, and the yellow lighter is what makes her remember. So I think yellow has some stuff to do with like remembering a little bit. Like I think the blue is like when it's like you're coming out of the haze. And because yellow is the towels, which wraps around our head, which is another like representation of the mind. And then the guy's glasses, Tom, who's one of the guys on the island, he wears these like yellow glasses and he feels really innocent. And so there's different like little yellow things too, which I think. So those were like, white, red, yellow, and blue were like the four. I think that's a four. Yeah. 4 colors that were like important.
Okay. I just had something come into my mind and it completely blew my mind. Hear me out. Okay. Also, let's remember to I've gardened. If you know, you know. So if this is a terrible thought, it's fine. So the venom is green. And so Jess is the first one to wake up. She gets bit by a snake and it's really painful. And I just think that's important. And then when they drink the venom, it tastes disgusting and it's not palatable and it's hard to swallow. And I just think that is kind of powerful to when you're waking up from whatever sleep you're in or whatever, when you're waking up, coming out of things, it's not always an easy transition and it's hard and it can be painful.
No, I love that because I want to say like a lot of people struggle with when they have trauma.
Yeah.
Like these women have. It's uncomfortable to face it. It's like it's really hard.
Yeah, and that character, I can't remember her name, the one who's always wearing pink, the assistant,
Stacy.
That just completely shook me.
Always in pink.
Yes, she's always in pink, and she just makes me think of the like traditional Southern perfect wife who is taking care of her man. In this case, she's taking care of Slater King because she's his assistant, and they give her the antidote. And when she wakes up, she attacks Frida and is saying, I can't believe you did this to me. I didn't want to wake up. Forgetting is a gift. And I think that it's just so true. And especially like, I mean, I've experienced trauma in my life, and sometimes it's like it's serving your body to forget and it's serving your brain to forget and everything. But I just thought that was
and that's Slater's whole thing. Yeah. Like his trauma has now made him want to make everyone else forget about trauma. And so he's like using it. So like, we'll go into that. So the twist of the movie is when Frida starts to wake up, she realizes like, so we start seeing things about how chunk in their memories are missing. Like they wake up with dirt under their nails. They wake up like tired, and some of them
with
have
bruises.
And you're starting to be like, and they'll say, what day is it? She says that twice. What day is it? And he goes, I don't know. And then they say, are you having a good time? Over and over and over to the girls. And they're always like, yes, I'm having a good time. And it's like this disgusting controlling thing. Like that's one of my least favorite things that they do. Because what happens is when the girls get to the end of the day, their forgetting stuff disappears and they are then attacked by these guys and used over and over again. In sexual ways.
Yeah. And it's very brutal.
They are brutal. They are screaming. They're in positions that are disgusting and know what's happening. And they are in trauma and they are in pain. And even at one point they says the more traumatic it is, the more they forget, right? It's like, and you're like, I'm going to throw up right now. And then my favorite part of the whole movie is the girls are running away from this trauma. I mean, like disgusting. But by the time they reach the end of the field, they go back to forgetting and they go, why are we running? And they all start laughing and falling over. And it's like they go from being assaulted to forgetting and being happy. It's like
being pliant.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah.
Anyways, so that the girls start to remember this. And then that's when they like get the venom for other girls, and then all the girls remember. And then from then it's like
okay. And
carnage.
How they find out about the venom and everything. So there is a housekeeper on the island, and every time that she's
by the way, pause. Sorry.
No.
To drive this point even further. So yes, she's a housekeeper, but her actual title,
Yes,
or the actual title in the film is Badass Maid.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
Love
and honestly,
that.
best
And the
character
guy,
name.
the glasses guy in the beginning is like asshole boss.
It's perfect. Yeah, I love that. Okay, so the Badass Maid. I'm never saying housekeeper again. Badass Maid. So the first time Frida sees her, the lady looks like she recognizes her and says, "Red Rabbit, Red Rabbit."
And touches her scar.
Yes, and touches
That she
her
gets.
scar. It's kind of disconcerting, and you don't know what's going on. We kind of just let it go and whatever. So then they have a couple more interactions, and she keeps saying, "Red Rabbit, Red Rabbit." Then finally, Frida is sneaking around, and
Because Jess is missing and
yes,
she starts to look
she's
around.
looking around, and which is also fine because no one has said they can't look around. Anyways, she finds the housekeeper, and she's in this work closet, and there's a bunch of dead snakes, which was kind of freaky.
Yeah.
And then she has this bottle of green liquid.
Tequila is
Yeah.
what she thinks.
Yeah.
Frida's like, tequila, sure.
And the badass maid is like, shh, don't tell. And she's like, "Oh yeah, I got you." And she offers it to her, and she takes a sip.
Disgusting.
And it's disgusting, and she's like, "Oh my God, what is that stuff?" And she's like, "Red Rabbit, Red Rabbit." So then Frida's like, "Whatever," and goes away.
She's freaked out. She's like, I'm
Yeah.
out of here. But
then-
the fact that the badass maid is drinking this in this closet full of dead snakes while surrounded by these red bags that contain
Yes.
this
Red bags.
perfume is very, very key to like
Yes.
Yeah.
how they overcome this.
So that's how Frida, she's like the first one to take it in.
Yes.
And for Jess, she gets bit by the snake.
Yeah.
So she starts to remember because she got bit by the snake. And I think the way that the venom is put into the person makes a difference, because I'm pretty sure Jess lasts like another few days and continues to forget, because right after she's like staring at the moon and her nose is bleeding, which when the girl's nose bleeds, you know they're remembering. There's a few other scenes where she's like running and forgetting. Like the next scene. And either that means like it took a few days, because there's actually a few shots before she even gets bit. Like when she has the like,
Yeah.
she has a bite. Like earlier in the movie, you see the bite on her finger. So like the time of the girls is almost like messed up, because like before she's even bit, she has the bite mark and stings before that scene, which I thought was really cool. So it's like, it's almost like we don't even like, you know,
we don't truly know what the chronological order
yeah,
is.
because
of
it almost makes
everything.
it like I don't even know what date it is, because they don't know what.
Yes.
Right. It's like
Yeah.
it's a constant loop of forgetting and remembering.
As a viewer watching
Yeah.
it, you feel that. It's very unsettling, and there are a couple jump scares in there for sure, but the overall feel of the movie, you just feel something is not right, but you can't really put your finger on it. And then when you get to the end, you're like, holy, this is so much worse than I thought it was.
Yeah. So every night they're taking advantage of these girls and then making them forget. And then Sarah comes along with the lighter with Jess's name on it, and that kind of triggers like, there is a girl that was here named Jess because I have her lighter. And so they kind of bond.
My favorite line was, "Not to be a bitch, but I don't remember her at all, and I think I would."
Yeah. She's like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But I
And-
believe you.
Yeah. And just seeing them come together was super awesome. So then
The fact that they come together is actually a big character development moment.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Yeah.
holy moly, yes. But yeah, so they come together, they get the antidote to the other two girls, and then they're giving it to the assistant as well. And all of the guys are off fishing, so they have been able to.
And Jess is gone.
Yes, just
And in a memory that she has, they see they're all lined up getting, and you hear Slater say she got bit, so she remembers, and then you see them snap her neck.
Yeah.
And
she's
that is
not-
the first time you're like,
And Frida
my
is
goodness.
remembering this.
Yes, she
so Frida's
remembers.
remembering this, and she's in Slater's office because she's trying to find a phone. And so the guys come home, and the girls' signal for each other was
Yeah, because they're making all the at this
Fat
point,
blunt.
Yeah, but at this point, they're making all the girls take shots like they're taking tequila shots.
Yes, and it's the venom. It was
they can't,
so
because
funny.
Sarah and Frida are like, how are we going to make Heather and Camila remember? And they're like, tequila shots. And so the girls are just taking shots,
Yes.
Which is
Of the antidote.
of the antidote. So they
antidote.
know that, because it each takes them almost like a few hours. So like
Yeah.
they're taking shots like in the afternoon, and the girls don't remember to that evening.
Yeah.
So like
Right.
there's a timeline when the stuff kicks in. And Sarah's kind of falling into that while she's
Yes.
like when the guys come back, she's
Yes.
starting
Right.
to remember at that moment.
Yes.
And you can tell, and this actress did such a good job of like beginning that melting, like, I know what happened to me,
Mm-hmm.
and having to like smile and
Yeah, and look at your attacker and pretend like you're fine, because if you don't, they're just gonna dose. Like, so it was watching it as a woman was truly horrifying. So they're doing that. So the guys come back. Frida is in Slater's office, and Sarah is supposed to say "fat blunt" really loud to get Frida's attention. And that's, I also loved, like, they do bring that, the funny and the satire, bringing it in and having those moments where you're like, huh, we're gonna say "fat blunt." Okay, cool.
yeah, okay.
And so finally she yells it, and she's able to hide, and she's finding pictures. She's finding all of this stuff. She hides under Slater's desk, and he comes in there, and it's the classic, oh my God, is he going to find her? Oh my God. Oh my God. And he doesn't find her, but that's when she remembers that he killed Jess.
Oh yeah. And also that scene though, like I saw someone mention how the floor is like a chessboard with the blue and white.
Yep.
And he walks in like the knight, and his queen is right in front of him. And it's this like thing when he says, "There you are," and you're like, oh, it's like really creepy. But he's talking about the stupid red chair. But it's like this moment where like visually he comes in, and if he just goes forward, like the queen is there, like what he wants is right in front of him. It's like this very weird chess moment. I saw someone talk about it, and I was like, that is so cool. Like with the use of the blue and him coming, like she's remembering.
Yeah.
When she's
You
like,
guys are literally blowing my mind. When Shay was talking about color theory, and now, okay, when you're talking about this, you listeners can't see me, but I'm just sitting here with my jaw open, being like, oh my God.
oh my
Well,
God.
How are my
It's
friends
funny.
so smart?
Same scene, like thinking about that color theory, how you have the blue and white checkered flooring. And the reason that this scene is so
I
suspenseful.
think it's blue and chuckled. Is that right? Okay.
It is. It's a light blue and white.
Yeah.
But the reason this scene is so suspenseful and so jarring is not because she's hiding, but because her nose bled.
Oh yeah.
When she came in.
And there's
my
a drop of
God.
blood
And
on the
there's a
white
drop of-
tile.
Yep.
Yes.
And
Ugh.
so seeing that red up against that white with the blue, again, just invokes this thought of like,
Yeah. And I think it kind of calls back to that moment when she gets a red stain on her dress, and she's like, it's like the first night, and they're like, oh my goodness, we had so much fun. And she looks down, and the red stain is gone. And that's your first notice that this is not the same night.
Yes.
You've
and
done this before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And okay, so the red stain on her dress, the reason she has a red stain is she puts red meat onto her plate, and she's going to get some for Slater, and he says, "No, I don't eat red meat." So then she puts the red
And
meat
splashes
back
on her.
onto so she's not eating it either. So we see her denying who she really is to please a man, and then she gets that red stain.
it's the first real tangible moment we see Slater have that physical
Yes.
power over Frida.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This is the first time that we're really like, I mean, granted, she's like put herself in this situation, getting on a jet
Yeah, she
with
chose
a bunch of random
this-
people
yeah.
she don't even know. And then choosing to be here.
Yes, that's also something the girls realized together, that none of the girls know each other.
Yeah.
It's just the guys, and that realization is like really like it's overwhelming for them, because they're like, I thought you guys knew each other, which I think is a theory of why she starts Frida remembers, is because this time she brought her friend.
Yeah. Okay, also,
and that's what changes the cycle.
I don't
that she
think-
just wasn't before.
yeah. I don't think we've said like the biggest plot twist.
No, yeah.
This is Frida's second time being on this island.
Yeah, she remembers being on the island before with long black hair. She hits her head on a rock because Slater shoves her, and that's why she has her scar. And on her fingernails are her red fingernails with a rabbit, and that's why the maid has been saying "red rabbit" to her. because she was here last year. They were mentioned that. It was the year before.
And the final image that she remembers from after hitting her head on the rock is that lizard that we see at the beginning of the movie.
It was a very, like, you want to know a big moment? You saw it from the very beginning kind of thing, which I love.
It was amazing. And you're like, no, how did this happen?
The other thing is, like, when she first gets to the island, Frida, she opens up the drawer and there's a tube of red lipstick, like gloss, and she opens it up and there's a long black hair in it, and she's like, better next time, girl, and like throws away the lip. It's her lipstick. They show her when it's like the, you know, calling back to last year, she's has red lipstick and she's putting it on, so it was like herself. Like, is it the maid who put it in there to remind her, or is it Slater being like, I have control over you? I don't know which one, but both of them are powerful.
It was so wild. So then after she figures out she was there, she tells Sarah, and then I honestly, that's when Camilla and what's her face? Heather start remembering.
Yeah, and they have moments themselves, which those are not super important. You can, like, they start to remember, and then from, like, they just start remembering, and all of a sudden you realize Camilla has remembered because she has stabbed her captor, Tom, in the chest, right? Or was in the neck, whatever.
Yeah, in the neck.
What was it? What did she stab him with?
It was a pick, the ice pick.
Ice pick, yeah, because the guy, and then there's a security guard on the island the whole time you meet, and he's going to get ice at this moment. So he's away for the first time, like
ever.
And the girls are just remembering. It's like really good timing. And she stabs him straight in the neck, and he's dead on the floor, and you see Heather going after her person, which was Vic. So she's running after Vic, and he's like, and then you have Sarah who's chasing.
Also, he was just a scumbag.
It was the therapist, Cody. So she was chasing Cody. Anyway, so you're seeing each woman go after the man that has been tormenting them on the island.
And it's so beautifully done. The feminine rage.
Oh, yeah.
We love it.
And we have one character named Lucas that we're going to talk about. Who's is a male on the island, a blonde. He's very cute. He's very peppy. And he doesn't know what the crap is happening. You're like, either he's a victim, he's also been brought to the island and he doesn't know what's happening, he's forgetting, or he's one of the men. And so you don't really know what's happening.
And he like lost his cool and they had to drug him, so he had to forget, whatever.
Yeah, so I think that's actually the case. I think he was on the island. He couldn't do what they were doing to the women, but he didn't stop it. And that's what kind of Slater says at the end. You did nothing. You just sat there and did nothing. You didn't use the girls. You didn't stop us from using the girls, basically. So we gave you the perfume so you'd forget. So he's like, some people interpret it that he's on the island as a
victim,
but I am pretty sure it's...
The only reason I would say I don't think that is the case, there had to be a fifth person because Jess was there.
Right, that's his girl.
That would have been 5 and 5. But I think that the reason he was so happy-go-lucky the whole time was because he was consistently being sprayed with the perfume.
Right, because he
wasn't doing anything. He wouldn't partake, and he didn't do anything else.
Because one of the guys says, you don't remember because we gave you the perfume, right? He says that to him when he's like, what's happening, guys? And freaking out. Yeah. So they're all going after the guys.
How they kill them is so...
Yeah, well, one gets out of the neck.
It's a homage to how they've been treating the girls. So the ice pick, there's constantly scenes of him getting the ice, and it's just really aggressive. And it's a weird cinema thing to do, but then yes, when you see it with how he's killed, you're like, oh, this makes so much sense. And then there's a chessboard, and
she smashes his face in with the chessboard,
and then Sarah kills her guy with the wine.
She shoots him, but she stabs him in the hand with this wine cork, and he's the chef, and he always opens up the wine every night, and he smells, and he's like, ooh, that opened up beautifully. And then she stabs him and says that, and you're like, oh, yes, that's so great. So things happen. The guard goes after Frida. They kill the guard. And then there's the final moment where like all the guys are down. We have 2 dead. One's like
incapacitated.
Yeah, his face is smashed in.
Vic is on the couch just like
chilling.
Nah.
And then it's Slater and Lucas and everyone else is dead. And so and then the 2 girls actually get killed too.
Heather gets
shot and Camilla gets strangled by Slater.
Slater's foot.
Ugh.
He strangles her with his foot.
Right. So there's 2 girls left, and they're like, we're gonna go. And they have this.
Frida and Sarah outside.
They have this moment walking to the house, and they're like, let's go say hi to the boys. And they're walking with a Beyonce song in like blood covered white with a gun and a knife.
Giant knife.
Yeah,
it
the
was,
knife.
was it Vic's special
Yeah,
knife?
that just
Or was it
she has a
Cody's
moment of
special
remembering
Oh,
just
yeah,
giving
yeah,
it to
a
her.
chef knife, yeah.
Anyway, so they go. Lucas gets shot, and then it's just Slater.
But hold on. That scene is really important to highlight. The fact that Slater's looking at Lucas, and Lucas is like, we need to let them in because Frida is banging on the door, acting as though she doesn't know what's going on. She's so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And Slater looks at him and he's like, don't open the door. And Lucas opens the door and Sarah shoots him.
Straight in the head.
Because she's gonna take revenge on anybody.
Right. Thought
But
it was Slater.
Right before this happens, Lucas is having that existential crisis of like, what did I do? What did I do? And right before that happens, Slater is saying, you did nothing. You did nothing. Like, you didn't stop anything.
And he
You
says,
didn't
oh, look, the Wonder
partake."
Boy's going to do something now when he goes and opens the door. So it's like he takes.
And he opens that door and then
Boom.
he's dead, which to me is the biggest statement of this whole film. Only because Slater specifically says, I think there's a special place in hell for people that watch something happen and don't do anything about it. And that is like the biggest takeaway because there's so many people that watch people get abused,
Right.
get assaulted, and say and do nothing.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing we've talked about. Like, whenever I'm like, if a girl walks into a bar and a guy slaps her on the ass, and if everyone in the bar as a man was like turned and looked at that person and said, what the crap are you doing? Then the world would be a different place. But instead, we're all quiet. And even females in the bar. Like, if we stood up for females, if we saw that happen and we were like, hey, a lot of times girls do stand up faster for other women because that's just
Absolutely.
we're like, we want someone to do that for us. But for guys, it's like, if that was just like,
But just like in the case of Stace, she's seeing all sorts of things happen.
yeah, the
she's
girl
not
did.
doing
Yeah,
anything.
the assistant
And
doesn't
when
want to
she
remember.
finally does remember, she
wants to forget.
still doesn't want to partake.
Yeah.
Yes.
Someone
and-
said it might
and-
be his sister, which I thought was interesting because he
Oh.
talks about how him and then his sister had trauma.
Oh, yes.
And they were
that
both
makes
abused.
a lot of sense.
That's the other thing. Like, his trauma was that he was abused.
But he also said that if his sister would take it, that she would be like, I think he mentions.
Oh, maybe that's.
But that's like great theory. I also love when Frida and Stace are fighting, and Stace is like, I wanted to forget. Forgetting is a gift. And then Frida's like,
bitch.
I tried, bitch. I'm like, yes.
Okay, so end of the movie, basically, she's out of ammo. So Slater goes over to Sarah and is about to slit her throat. But before he does that, he takes a hit of his pen that he has the whole movie. And Frida has put the perfume, the forgetting perfume in it. And it goes straight into his lungs, which is why I think it hits him so fast. And he starts on the spot, forgetting the whole night in front of our eyes. And then, like, house catches on fire because
There's candles lit on the floor everywhere, and
It's
they're
just
knocked
nasty.
over.
So the movie ends with both girls. They're outside of the house.
And they're dragging something.
They're dragging something.
And Sarah looks over and is like, are you sure?
Well, first, I love my favorite thing is she's trying to light a blunt, and she goes, "Do you have a lighter?" And Frida says, "Dang it, I know I forgot something," which is funny because they've been forgetting everything. And they both start laughing, and then Sarah says, "Are you sure about this?" And she's like, "Yep." And it zooms out, and she's dragged Slater out of the burning house. So you're like, why would you do that?
And then it flashes over to
A year later.
We assume it's a
I
year
think
later.
it said 3 years later.
I don't remember if it said. It was just the guy who
Time jump.
was doing
Time jump.
They're at a gala, and he was the same guy where Frida and Slater met that one time and whatever. And
Second time,
it's fine. And you're thinking, dang.
Yeah, what's happening? And then we see Frida. She's next to Slater. Slater's standing up talking to another character we meet named the therapist.
Yeah. So you see Slater before you see Frida, and he's talking to the therapist, and you're like, oh my gosh.
He's like, oh, are we gonna do that thing again?
Yeah, and you're
he's
like,
on the island and he takes a red bag. So there's a room full of red bags that have the perfume in it, and the belief is that he is handing these out to men to take home so that they can make other women women pliable like this.
Yeah.
And so he's there and he's like, are we gonna blah blah blah? And then you see Frida hand him this little vial of vape, whatever you put in your vape. Fluid, and it's pink.
Juice.
So he's constantly being
And
forgetting.
the therapist says to Slater, like, oh, will you go to Beijing or we go wherever with us? And Frida looks over and says, no, we're going to be busy next week. Sorry. And
Red lipstick.
And you're like, okay.
Flower on the
Okay.
nail.
Yes.
And they're like,
beautiful ring.
and she's married to Slater, and she receives an award at this thing. And that's
because Slater signed the company over to
Yeah,
her.
she
and
owns the
she's
company
now
now.
the
Yeah.
CEO.
so she has now taken a situation where she was abused, and now she technically, as some people believe, became slightly an abuser because she's now doing what was done to her in a more humane way, I would say, probably. But and it's the idea, it's like, is she just now a villain? Because like that's how my husband watched the movie with us. He kind of felt that right away, and my right away was like, no,
Yeah.
she took an awful situation and became the villain because she, like, women in
She was
history sometimes
forced
have to
to.
become the villain to like make a point, or she's just taking back her narrative,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, what is she supposed to do with that? Into that, like, everyone's
Yeah.
dead. Like,
Well, and-
she just
okay.
was traumatized. Like, what do you do with that?
I also think after we watched this, because I was there for the conversation too, what we're trying to make it into, like, if this was happening to me in real life. This is a satire. It is supposed to be outrageous and all of those things with everything that they've been doing. And that's why I love the ending, because it's that taking back that power and not becoming pliable and submissive and the weak, crying, soft women that sometimes we're portrayed as. And I just love it. But I
always.
think, yeah, like
or most of the time.
if that were in real life, I ethically can't say I agree with her doing that, because it's really, really messed up.
But
for-
as a big statement for
Yes,
women, be like, take back your
absolutely.
narrative. I think
Yes,
that's what it was. It was
absolutely.
like, yeah, like logically, okay, I get where you're coming from. She
Yeah.
might be, but the message was, no matter what you've gone through, if you can take back your narrative.
Yes.
Right? I know the trauma, it might be like they use a lot of stuff for trauma, like the sound of Vic's necklace against his neck banging when he's, using her. And so it's moments like that like you hear it in the background when she's starting to like remember things, and it's like really powerful that trauma isn't just physical. It can be brought back by sounds, by smells, by how something feels, the way somebody looks.
Yeah.
All
And even
trauma.
like you don't have to remember. And I think that's
the trauma
what's-
can just show up.
Yeah, well, and your body remembers, and
Mm-hmm.
it's wild to me.
Like you're just really sad one day and you're like, I don't know why I'm really sad right now, and you're like, oh,
Or-
because something
well,
triggered me that I didn't
and
know.
she is obsessed with Slater King.
Yeah.
And we don't know why. We just see she's in the bathroom scrolling on her phone, like, and you're learning all about Slater and you're doing all of this, and you can tell that she's obsessed with him. And even her boss, the glasses guy, was saying, last year you got really chatty. Make sure not to do that this year. And she was like, well, he started talking to me and whatever. But yeah, so she is obsessed with him, and that it has to do with how he did all of that to her and
hold on her.
Exactly. It was very powerful.
Yep, much like women who are abused and
Yeah.
can't get away from
Yes.
their abusers.
Yes.
In the beginning too, there was a lot of warnings to her too, which I think sometimes, I don't know if it's like a cue to like listen to your surroundings or be mindful because people can hurt you, whatever. But it was like that one, like, don't be chatty again, was a sign. She said to the therapist, you should know if he's crazy. Blink twice if I'm in trouble. And the therapist blinks twice at her.
Yeah.
And it's like this nod to be like, literally he's telling her
Yes.
she's not safe. But we find it as a joke. Like,
Yeah.
oh, blink twice. And like Slater
ha,
like,
ha, ha.
ah, covers up her eyes. And the camera like goes over to Jess and she like slits her throat like with her finger, right? And she's like, bleh.
It's very on the nose.
The other thing I love is at the very beginning, they introduce everybody all around. And he's like, can you catch up? Can you remember everything? And she says, oh, I have a really good memory. And Slater giggles.
Yeah.
He goes, and she goes, what? And he goes, oh, nothing. And you think, oh, he thinks she's cute. No, he thinks it's funny because he's wiped her memory from
Also,
the last
he
year.
is just a psychopath. Like, he asks about her scar on her forehead. He says, where did you get that? And she says, I don't remember. And
Okay, so this is important before we end. He takes his vape that he uses is the snake oil, so that he will never be controlled by it. At one point, he opens up the drawer and there's vials and vials of green stuff that he puts in his vape, and he gives it to Frida. She smokes it, and then he asks her about her scar, almost like he's testing if she'll remember. Because he's like, do you want some? And she takes a little hit. And everything has a different like you know, because
Yeah.
like when he smokes the remembering stuff, it's like immediate. But I wonder if the vape stuff is just like a constant a little dose, right? Not
Yeah.
like a strong
Right.
dose. And then she takes it and she smokes it and she sits in that red chair. And after that moment, she remembers the therapist. She goes, I remember you.
Yep.
And he goes, at the gala. And like, it's this memory that it's starting to like click,
Yeah.
but not
And
strong enough.
he's very disconcerted. Like, why do you remember
Why
me?
do you remember me? Because like he was there that night when she was getting abused, getting a bag. And he's like, so they won't remember anything? Like very twisted. And you're like, ugh. So anyways, we should wrap it up.
I know.
The movie was fantastic.
One thing I just wanted to name really fast before we wrap. One of the other things that I think is so powerful about this movie and why like all of the women fall so quickly and why it's so easy, I think, for the audience to kind of like have an inherent trust in the men essentially is because of the casting. I mean, you're literally saying you're taking Channing Tatum, one of
we love
America's hottest men. You're taking Haley Joel Osment,
Yes.
literally the child from Sixth Sense. He could never do any wrong.
Never.
Christian Slater.
Christian
What?
Slater, we love him. Icon from the 80s. Like,
icon.
And then the guy that plays Cody is like he's a comedian. Like he's so
Yeah.
funny and innocent.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
no
it's
way.
great
Yes.
casting. Like you trust them in. It's just like it's an easy thing. And also to that, we also want to just to everyone who had trauma like this, we want to just send out our hearts and just know that there are safe places to come when you're ready to talk about trauma. Like please know that there are communities out there that you don't have to be stuck in the trauma. Not to therapize you, just to show you that we love you and that we know a lot of women have this story. And so we're just encourage you to take back your story like this movie said, and you know,
And whatever that looks like for you.
yeah, baby steps, big steps, jump out of the closet.
I just want to like extend that even further. Like even if you are not female, however you
Absolutely.
identify, if you've been abused, there is help for you. And we'll leave some links down in the comment section so that you can make sure to find support because you deserve it. And know that you can always take your power back.
Yes.
And we just speak as women because that's what we are, but this happens to everybody. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, we loved this movie. Gave me a little bit of trauma myself now, but
I know. It was beautiful.
you know, I just that night I just kept on thinking about, man, like right when the movie ended, Louisa looked at me and he's like, it's so scary to be a woman.
Yeah.
Like that movie just
crazy.
makes you think about that. It's just the things.
Yeah.
So I'm about to go take a kickboxing class. And never get on a private jet in my life. Never go to a private island. Just don't trust the rich, guys. That's
Well, yeah, we'll do a podcast episode on kickboxing later. But thank you guys for joining us. We love you.
And our sacred circle is set up.
Oh, yeah.
We just didn't want to start the movie review with
Yeah.
that.
Whenever we do a podcast, we always have a sacred circle.
But when we're doing witchy stuff, we're going to set it up so that you
Yeah.
guys can follow along.
It's pretty fun. So have a great rest of whatever time of the day it is for you. And
The light in me sees the light in you.
we love you and we'll see you next time.
Bye, witchlings.
What's the carpet one? Stanley Cleaners.
Oh, Stanley Steamer is carpet cleaner. Are we recording? Great. I hope we can hear that.
We just
on
said
the recording.
mucus. Gross. Okay.
It was a moist mucus.
Ew.
All right.
Withered from my...
We're currently recording.
Okay, perfect.